Hello again. Something which I've been noticing lately is a number of signs in public places and at railway stations which remind us that we must not sexually assault women or defecate in the street. I grew up in a couple of pretty rough parts of London at a time when manners were a good deal less delicate than they are today. Places like Custom House down by the docks and Bethnal Green in London's East End. But I certainly do not recall a time when people travelling on public transport had to be told that they mustn't sexually assault women on tube trains. It was rather taken for granted that this was not the way to behave. In the same way, I do not remember that people squatting down in the street to take a shit was ever a practice which needed to be discouraged by putting up signs threatening to fine those caught doing so. I mean, seriously. As I say, I didn't grow up in a very refined and high-class area. We all knew well enough not to do such things. Times changed though, and the thumbnail to this video shows a sign which was put up in the Leicestershire town of Market Harborough in response to the great number of men who were fouling the footpaths in the town. I have seen many similar notices, and by all accounts the practice is widespread enough to be a nuisance in some parts of the country. Nor is this all. Spitting in the street is now endemic, and it's common to see youths and even adult men spitting on the pavement. One sees signs forbidding this, and a number of local authorities have introduced bylaws making the practice illegal. Still in Leicestershire, the Town Council of the City of Leicester held a public consultation on this issue a few years ago, and 96% of those who responded thought that they should do something about it. It's now against the law to spit in the street there, although this has not noticeably discouraged antisocial behaviour. I give a link to this consultation in the description to this video. On the London Underground, one now sees posters which warn travellers that touching someone inappropriately is sexual harassment and will not be tolerated. Really? Is it honestly necessary these days to remind people that they mustn't sexually assault others on the trains? Is that the state of society that we need posters to tell us not to spit or defecate in the street and to keep our hands to ourselves when we're on a tube train? Another poster on the Underground reminds people not to expose intimate body parts on the train. This followed a number of incidents in which men have started masturbating when finding themselves alone in a carriage with a woman. As I say, I didn't grow up in a smart or well-to-do district, but I'm pretty sure that I knew better as a child than to masturbate on tube trains, spit in the street, or open my bowels in the local park. Somewhere along the line, an awful change has taken place in this country, and I'm very far from convinced that it has been one for the better. These are just a few random examples, but there are many others. Remember when the police would stop somebody cycling on the pavement and issue them with a summons? You might end up being fined 10 bob for that. These days, grown men and women simply use the pavement to ride on, and the police couldn't care less. Is that really an improvement for pedestrians, for old people? A lot of these things are associated, of course, with the fact that one simply doesn't see police officers patrolling the beat as once they did. The fact that you never knew when you might bump into a copper certainly made people think twice about riding on the pavement, let alone squatting down in the street rather than waiting until you got home. I don't think this is a complete explanation for the changes we see, but it's certainly a contributing factor.